Good evening, Los Santos. Welcome to Los Santos Leaks. I'm Baxter Ivy, and you're about to be filled in. In last week's episode, we covered the governor explaining his recollection of the VU incident from last week, the investigation into Chief Ashley's disappearance, the missing in action Officer Volk, and the interview given by masked individuals claiming to be a contracted security for Humane Labs. In tonight's episode, we cover a missing director of public safety and his involvement in the crimes, including an assassination attempt on Hontan, who is now missing, and the murder of a young girl during a shooting involving the gang task force, as well as a cover-up of citizens being microchipped after being kidnapped, starting as high up as the previous chief, Chad Rhodes. To begin, here's a statement from the governor about the Tom Mason investigation.
I do have some unfortunate news that I'd like to share, and it's very hard for me to say this. Effective as of about a week ago, I had to place Director Mason on administrative leave pending an investigation. So we'd like to ask the public for help. We'd like people to come forward with eyewitness accounts and testimony of a couple of events that were linked to, I don't know how to explain it. Do you remember the assassination attempt at the Harvey Center on Hantan?
Yes.
When he, yep. Well, there was a specific, unusual type of weapon that was used during that assassination attempt. The police were able to recover shell casings on the rooftop across the street from the Harvey Center, and were able to place those into an evidence lockup and get a ballistics forensic exam on them, find out what type of weapon they were fired from, and get a tracing of the weapon that could be later matched to other shell casings and bullets and things like that. This is how they can find out, what weapons are actually the ones that are involved in the crimes. Um, well, um, so the the raid for the gang war that I led with the police. Mason was supposed to be there for that raid, and he didn't make it. And we haven't actually seen him since then. Checked around with a few people, and we don't know where he was. Unfortunately, during that raid, there was a young um, a young girl that was caught up in the gang, and she was killed. I think she was 14 years old, and it's very, very terrible. Young people get caught up in gangs a lot, um, and it's really tragic. And I feel terrible for her family, and my sincerest condolences go out to her family. We're not going to share her name to respect them. I received the autopsy results a week ago from the chief medical examiner, and extremely unusual. But there was a bullet recovered, um, and it was not the type of bullet that was used in any police issued weapon that the LSPD or any other police force in the city uses, which is highly unusual. Uh, which means either the police had a weapon that they shouldn't have, or the police aren't the ones that killed her. After a forensic investigation was completed on the bullet, someone at the police department tied it back to the shell casings that were taken off the Harvey Center, and it turns out it was the same exact weapon. So whoever is doing this is trying to either frame the police, or I don't know. I don't know what their motivation is. I don't. Maybe they just want to kill people. But they tried to kill Hantan, and now they've killed this poor girl. As I mentioned, we hadn't seen Mason. Um, so I asked the police. There were 3 officers to do a welfare check on him at his home. I was worried. We went to his office, and there was a large number of missed calls on his desk phone. People hadn't gotten voicemails returned. There was it was signs that he hadn't been there in a while. So we went up to his house, and they went in to see if he was, hurt or something. And luckily, he wasn't. Well, I guess luckily he wasn't there, because my fear was we're gonna find him laying on the floor or something, needing either, hopefully not dead, but in a terrible situation, but he wasn't there. When they were looking for him, they saw a gun safe that was propped open. They thought it was strange. I mean, if you have a safe for your weapons, especially if you're a seasoned police officer like Mason is, you keep that safe locked. Uh, and in the safe, they saw a weapon that wasn't something that anyone would have around here, and it was something that the forensic analyst said we should be looking for when they had looked at the bullet and the shell casings. A large caliber heavy sniper rifle, like really like a bigger than normal. So they confiscated the gun and they took it back to the PD and uh, fired a bullet and got the shell casing in the bullet, and the lab confirmed it was the same weapon. And that's why I had to place Mason on administrative leave until we know what the hell's going on. Now, I've known Mason for a long time, and I know what kind of man he is. And I can tell you that with 100% certainty in my heart, he couldn't have done this. I don't know what happened, but we need to get to the bottom of that. It's very serious, and the family deserves answers. So there's an investigation happening for that as well. The chief wanted to lead the investigation up, but I couldn't let her do that because she was on scene during that situation, and for the sake of having a pure investigation free of any type of bias, we had to remove any of the officers that were part of the raid from participating in the investigation, which leaves it to Commander Volk. He's the only one that wasn't there that night. That's at an appropriate rank to be heading an investigation of that caliber. So he's leading the investigation for us, and hopefully we'll have some answers soon. Mason, if you're out there, you got to call one of us, man. I don't know. There's no sign of a kidnapping. There was no forced entry into the home. I don't know. It is unusual for him to usually he tells me if he's not going to be around for a while. I have seen some emails come through. So I don't know if he's on some special assignment or what, but I can't rule it out. It's possible. If you're listening, whoever's doing this, as far as I know, I haven't heard any demands. I don't know what anyone wants. I don't know why anyone's doing this. It doesn't have to be like this. We don't have to go to this level, okay? Reach out to us. Come down and talk to me. I'm here.
The incident where the gun used in both crimes was found was also corroborated by this tip sent into our tip line. The image sent was also linked to a message stating that shots may also have been fired that night, but there is no word on if shots were indeed fired from the governor, only that Mason was missing from the home and the gun found matched bullet casing from both crimes. He insisted that he knows the director of public safety, who has now been put on administrative leave during the investigation, and says that he would not do something as violent as these crimes. But with Director Mason missing and unavailable to comment on the accusations he is facing, there is no word yet if an official warrant will be signed off by judge to further investigate the director's other belongings or office. After speaking with the previous chief of police, Chad Rhodes, who also lives at the residence, and is roommates with the accused Mason, he claims Mason is not in fact missing but has fallen ill. And when police went with Officer Rhodes to check the home again, he found an alleged note from the director saying he was feeling ill and went out to get medication. It was at that time that Officer Rhodes also stated that after seeing tweets from the suspect XOXO Twitter account, who may be involved with the Humane Lab's investigation, had begun having flashbacks in which he confirmed that he himself was also kidnapped previously, and admitted to being tortured and chipped. The officer claimed that the chip was inserted inside his brain like what was reported by our own Kurumi at Weasel News on Monday morning by a PD whistleblower.
We need to get in there. We need to look for
To get in where?
2 Humane Labs.
Humane Labs.
Humane Labs is kidnapping people.
They kidnapped me.
Is that who kidnapped you?
Yeah. Back in September, I was out hunting and I was bludgeoned with a metal pipe and dragged back to Humane Labs, where I was tortured and beaten within an inch of my life. They implanted a chip into my head, and basically from that point until recently, I was under their control completely.
Well, how did you come to this? Because like last time I talked to you, you didn't remember anything.
The yellow room in the news reports. That's where I was.
So we have the chief being kidnapped. We're assuming it's the fucking laboratories, based on the fact that you're getting your memory back and you're remembering now that they kidnapped you.
Correct.
And anything else? Any other?
They kidnapped you, the monkeys.
They kidnapped me. What are you talking about?
You were found in a Humane Lab van, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, it was I was in a Humane Labs van right by the Vanilla Unicorn.
So why are you getting skeptical about people getting kidnapped?
That's a good question. I don't know.
This is what the governor had to say about the chip incident.
The only chip I got's on my shoulder. You know, people gotta accept that about me. I've accepted it about me. I do try to, I try to be nice and political, but sometimes I do got a chip on my shoulder. But that's the only chip I got. All right, I ain't got chipped teeth. I ain't got a fucking chipped head. I went to my doctor. He checked my balls out. While I was there, he checked everything else out too. All right. Obviously, we know about this, so we're taking the ultimate precautions. And I ain't chipped. There's nothing in me except a whole bunch of lacking energy right now because I've been working so hard on all this shit. I haven't been able to sleep. But yes, I know about the chip, and that's again, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not. We're not supposed to talk about that right now because there's a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to the seriousness of the situation. It's extremely serious what's going on right now because we need more information about it. So if anybody has any information about the chips or whatever the hell's going on with that stuff, please bring it forward. Tell the police about it. Help them with their investigation if you have any information about it, because we don't know much. It's very odd. Just go about your daily lives, hang out with your friends, go out to the shopping malls, do your everyday activities. Don't get caught up in all this stuff that's going on. If you don't have any information about it, just leave it to us. All right, we're doing the best we can with the information we have available. We have multiple agencies involved. Everybody's working overtime right now. We're not slacking on this. I can guarantee you that. But we will get to the bottom of it. All right, and as soon as we have substantiated information and evidence, and it's cleared by the AG, we'll let you know.
With all of this information, plus a recent homicide call inside the labs, it gave both the acting chief at the time, Brett Williams, and lead DPS on scene, Julia Wright, enough of a reason for reasonable doubt at the time to storm the labs to investigate the compound and hopefully save the missing people possibly being tortured inside. And that's just what they did. Tune in to part 3, where we have live footage from the police attempting to enter the Humane Labs, information about Officer Volk's suspicious reappearance and his possible fake brain scans, updates on the case such as a military spacecraft shooting missiles inside the city, and other updates as we receive them. I'm Baxter Ivy. That was Los Santos Leaks. You've just been filled in. Thank you for watching and stay safe out there.
If you know anything, please come forward with information. Help the police with their investigation. Reach out directly to Commander Volk and help him get to the bottom of what's happening.